Okay, so this is the video change the app icon. So it is Unit 2, Lesson 2, or sorry, Unit 2, Pathway 2, Lesson 2, change the app icon. So let's just get right into it. And that's Android Basics and Kotlin. Before you begin, an app icon is a very important way to distinguish your app. It appears in a number of places, including the home screen, all apps screen, and the settings app. You may also hear the app icon referred to as the launcher icon. Launcher refers to the experience when you hit the home button on an Android device to view and organize your apps, add widgets and shortcuts, and more. After you tried different Android devices, you may have noticed that the launcher experience can look different depending on the device manufacturer. Sometimes device manufacturer will create a custom launcher experience that's signature to their brand. As part of that, different manufacturers may show app icons in different shapes and then circular icon shape shown above. They could display all app icons in a square shape, rounded, square, square, circle, or square circle between a square and a circle, for example. Okay. Circle, square, square, okay. Regardless of the shape from the device manufacturer, the goal is for all app icons on a single device to have a uniform shape for a more consistent user experience. That's why Android platform introduced support for adaptive icons as part of API level 26. By implementing an adaptive icon, your app will be able to accommodate larger ranges of devices by displaying higher quality app icon appropriately. This code lab will provide you with an image source file for tip calculator launcher icon to practice with. You will use a tool in Android Studio called Image Asset Studio to generate all versions of the launcher icons needed. Afterwards, you can take what you learned and apply it to changing app icons for other apps. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for the tip timeout. Prerequisites, able to navigate the files of the basic Android app, including the resource file, able to install Android app from Android Studio on the emulator or physical device. What you'll learn: how to change the launcher icon of an app, how to use an image asset studio in Android Studio to generate the launcher icon for assets, what is an adaptive icon and why it is made up of two layers. What you'll build: an Android app that has a new launcher icon. What you'll need: a computer with the latest stable version of Android Studio installed, internet connection to download the image resource files. Set up your project. If you're taking this from a Code Lab, Android Basics and Kotlin course, you can directly use the tip calculator from a previous Code Lab that you're working on. And I have that. And it's open in Android Studio already down here. So, tip time. Okay. All right. Next. Launcher icons. The goal is for your launcher icon to look fantastic, crisp, and clear, regardless of the device, model, or screen density. Specifically, the screen pixel density refers to how many pixels per inch, or DPI, dots per inch, are on the screen. For medium density devices, MDPI, there are 160 dots per inch on the screen, while extra high density devices, XXX HDPI, has 640 dots per inch on the screen. To account for all the devices across the range of screen densities, you'll need to provide a different version of your app icon. Explore the launcher icon files. To see what this looks like, open up your project in Android Studio. If your If your app was started from the template, then you should have the default launcher icons that were provided by Android Studio in the project. Switch to Project View. This will show you all the files in your project according to the file structure and how those files are saved on your computer. So instead of the Android, we'll switch to the project. Okay. And then here's the bitmap folders. Okay. So we'll close the themes. We'll close the main activity. We don't need this code open right now. Okay. Navigate to the resources directory and expand out some of the bitmap folders. These bitmap folders are where you should put the launcher icon assets for your Android app project. MDPI, HDPI, XHDPI are density qualifiers that you can append onto the name of the resource directly, like bitmap, to indicate that these resources for a device are of a certain screen density. Here's a list of the density qualifiers. Okay, and those are the folders I just opened. You may wonder why icon assets are located in bitmap directory separate from the app assets located in the drawable. This is because some launchers may display your app icon at a larger size than what is provided by the default device density bucket. For example, on an HDPI device, a certain device launcher may want to use the XHDPI version of the app icon. If you click on the image files, you'll see a preview of the IC Launcher PNG files that contain the square version of the icon, while the IC Launcher Round PNG files contain the circular version of the icon. Both are provided in each resource directory. For example, this is what res bitmap XXXHDPI IC Launcher Round PNG looks like. Also notice the size of the asset in the top right is 192 by 192. So let me open up that. So bitmap, I think round 192 by 192. Okay. On the other hand, bitmap MDPI is only 48 by 48, and the picture is probably smaller. Yeah, and it looks fuzzy. Okay. The bitmap image are composed of a fixed grid of pixels. They were created for certain screen resolutions. Hence, the quality can degrade when you resize them. If you scale down a bitmap image, it will probably look okay because you are getting rid of pixel information. And if you scale up an image significantly, it may appear blurry. Android will need to guess at the fill-in missing pixel information. To avoid a blurry icon, be sure to provide different bitmap images for our app icon for each density. Note the device screen densities won't be precisely 160 dpi, 240, 320, etc. based on the current screen density. Android will select the resource at the closest largest density bucket list and scale it down. Now that you have seen some background content on launcher icons, you'll learn about adaptive icons next. Adaptive icons. Foreground and background layers. As of the Android 8.0 release API level 26, there are support for adaptive launcher icons, which allow for more flexible and interesting visual effects when it comes to app icons for developers. This means that if your app icon is made up of two layers, a foreground and a background layer, or is made up of two layers, a foreground and a background. The above example, the white Android icon is in the foreground layer, and the blue-white grid is in the background layer. The foreground layer will be stacked on top of the background layer, and then a mask, circular mask in this case, will be applied on the top to produce a circular shaped icon. Explore adaptive icon files. Look at the default adaptive icon files provided by the project template in Android Studio. In the project window of Android Studio, look for and expand the Mitmap NeDPI v26 resource. Okay. So the Mitmap that are in these folders are just images, and the other ones are actual code. Okay. Adaptive icons were added in NeDPI level 26 of platform, so adaptive icons should be declared in a Mitmap resource directory that has the v26 resource qualifier on it. That means the resources in this directory will only be applied on the devices that are running API 26, Android 8.0 or higher. Resource files in this directory are ignored on devices running older versions of the platform. Once open up one of the XML files, for example, launcher, IC launcher XML, and you'll see this. Adaptive icon XML namespace equals schema background Android drawable IC launcher app background launcher app foreground adaptive icon. Okay, so it's a type of XML tab. Adaptive icon. Notice how the adaptive icon element is used to declare the background and foreground layers of the app icon by providing resource drawables for each. Go back to the project view and look for where the drawables are declared. Drawable IC launcher, background XML, and drawable 24 IC launcher foreground. Switch to design view to see each side to side. Okay. So close these. It wants me to look at the background and the foreground. It wants me to look at only design view. So we can see them side by side. How do we see them side by side? Okay, there we go. So background, foreground. All right. These are both vector drawable files. They don't have a fixed size in pixels. You can switch to code view, and you can see the XML declarations for the vector drawable by using the vector element. So let's switch to code view, take a look at that. Vector. It's right there. Vector. So it's in a vector. It's in a vector element. While a vector drawable and a bitmap image both describe a graphic, there are important differences. A bitmap image doesn't understand much about the image that it holds. For example, the color information at each pixel. On the other hand, a vector graphic knows how to draw the shapes that define the image. These instructions are composed of a set of points, lines, and curves along with color information. The advantage is that a vector graphic can be scaled for any canvas size, for any screen density without losing quality. A vector drawable is Android's implementation of vector graphics, intended to be flexible enough on a mobile device. You can define them in XML with these possible elements. Instead of providing versions of a bitmap asset for all densities bucket, you need only to define the image once, thus reducing the size of your app and making it easier to maintain. There are trade-offs to using vector drawables versus bitmap image. For example, icons can be ideal as vector drawables because they are made up of simple shapes, while a photograph would be harder to describe a series of shapes. It would be more efficient to use a bitmap asset in that case. Now it's time to move on to actually changing the icon. All right, download the new assets. So download this. Okay. Download that. Okay. Note there are certain requirements for these foreground and background layers assets, such as both must be 108 dp in size. More on the detail requirements here because, let's see. If your browser shows a file instead of downloading, select File, Save Page As, and save it to your computer. Okay, so save as, IC Launcher, underscore, do the YouTube video. Save as, underscore, YouTube video. Okay, save. Because the edges of your icon can get clipped depending on the size or the shape of the mask from the device, it is important to put the key information of your icon in a safe zone, which is a circular diameter of 66 dp in the center of the layer. The content outside of that safe zone should not be essential. It should be a background color or something like that. Okay. Change the app icon. Go to Android Studio to use the new assets. First, delete the old drawable resources that that have an Android icon and a green background grid in the project view. Right-click on and delete, and choose delete. Delete those two. You can uncheck the safe delete box. All right, so we're going to delete this one. Delete. Okay. So that was in the drawable, and then this is in the draw. The foreground was in the drawable 24. Delete. Okay. All right. 14 minutes. All right. All right. Create a new image asset. Okay. So we'll go to Resource Manager plus new image asset. Okay. With the foreground layer of the tab already selected, go down to the source asset section on the path. A prompt pops up to browse your computer for the selected file. Find and locate the new IC Launcher foreground XML. Okay. IC Launcher foreground. This is the new one. Okay. Next, switch to the background tab. The interface, leave defaults as is. Click the folder icon path and find the new background file. Okay. So from foreground, we'll go to the background layer and we'll get downloads. Background. Okay. Got it. Preview should be updating as you selected the new resource files. This is what it should look like with the new foreground and background layers. Yeah. Cool. It does. By representing your app icon in two layers, device manufacturer called original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs for short, can create different shapes depending on the Android device as shown in the preview above. The OEM provides a mask that will get applied to all app icons on the device. This mask gets applied on top of the foreground and the background layers of your app icon. Example, circular or square mask. Okay. When a circular mask is applied, both layers of your app icon, the result is a circular icon with a blue grid background and Android in it, the left image above. Alternatively, you could apply a square to produce the app icon on the right. Okay. Having two layers also allows for interesting visual effects because the two layers can move independently or be scaled. For some fun examples of how to use visual effects, you can check out this blog post under the design considerations because you can't tell in advance what your device user will have or what OEM mask it will apply onto your icon. You need to set up an adaptive icon so important information doesn't get cut off. Make sure the main contents of the foreground layer, the service bell icon in this case, are contained within the safe zone and not clipped. So if important content is appearing too small, then you can resize it with the slider bar under the scaling section of each layer. In this case, no resizing is needed. You can leave it at 100%. Click Next. The step is to confirm the path for the individual files. There's also a warning at the bottom of existing files will be overridden. Is this okay? The defaults are fine. Verify all the generated assets look correct in the map folders. Great work. Now you'll do one more change. Okay. So next, finish, and got to plug in. So I'm gonna move. Bear with me. Let me move. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got. So it said 2, and yep, we're charging, so we're not going to run out of juice. That's good. All right. So it said to check out our new maps and verify they look good. Oh, wait. Still the Android ones. Oh, maybe it said I still need to do one more thing. So yeah, that looks good. Okay. So let's go back to the lesson. Move vector drawable files into the v26 directory. Depending on the minimum SDK of your app, you may notice that the background asset is located in the drawable version 24 folder, while the foreground asset is in the drawable folder. The reason is because the background asset contains a gradient which was available starting in Android 7.0 release, also known as an API version 24, hence the v24 resource qualifier. The foreground asset doesn't contain a gradient, so that can go in the base drawable folder. Okay. Instead of having the foreground and the background assets in two separate drawable folders, move both drawables into a v26 directory. Since these assets are only used for adaptive icons, these two drawables are only needed on API 26 and above. This folder structure will make it easier to find and manage your icons. First, create a drawable, any DPI, and click right. Select new Android resource directory, but it already gave me one. It probably was already in there with the new version of Android Studio. Bitmap any v26. Yeah. All right. So it's already in there because I think I have the new version of Android Studio. Yep. Drawable any DPI. Is that what it called it? Called it Bitmap any DPI. So I guess I will make a new directory and call it draw. Um, any PI v26. Okay. So, move vector drawable files into v26. All right. Okay. So I'm just trying to move them all together. Hmm. Undo move. Okay. Let's see what else it says. Okay. Okay, on project. Okay. Delete. Okay. Oh, I think I was supposed to import the drawables. So, yeah, it did import them. I see launcher, background. I see launcher foreground. So, this is good. So, where did it put the drawable files? Hmm. Okay. Super weird. Resources. Draw. Guess I could try to add them again. Johnson. Okay. Next. Okay. Now it should replace them. Before it didn't show me this. Okay. Project. Drawable. Okay. Why? I must have missed something. Okay. Okay. Scaling, yes. No. Yes. No. Okay. With the foreground layer already selected, go down to the source asset subsection on the path field. A prompt pops up to browse your computer, find the location of the new file. You just downloaded it on your computer. It may be in the downloads folder of your computer. Once you found it, click open. Path is now updated. The new foreground vector drawable. Leave the layer name as IC launcher foreground and the asset type as image. Okay. Next, switch to the background interface. Find the location of IC. Open it. The preview should be updated. The new resource files. This is what each should look like with the new foreground layers by representing your app icon in the two layers. Device manufacturers, called original equipment manufacturers or OEMs for short, can create different shapes depending on the Android device as shown in the preview above. Okay. Make sure the main contents of the foreground layer, service bell icon in this case, are contained within the safe zone. Okay. Click next. This step is to confirm the path. You can click the individual files to see the previews. There's also a warning at the bottom that some existing files were written. That is okay because those old files were for a previous app icon. Drawable 24. I should probably put that folder back in and just see. Okay, now we're good. Now it should be good, yeah. I had that on debug and it should be on main. Yeah, alright, now they're updated. Good. And then before it said that we don't need them in drawable, it had us create this other folder. Refactor. Okay. Refactor. Okay. Move the files into the v26. Alright. Is that what I created? Yeah. Okay. Alright. So it says delete this one since we don't need it anymore. Delete. Okay. Drawable underscore any DPI. I think it should be dash. Rename. Okay. That took away the errors. Alright. Yeah, it should have been dash and not underscore. So let's see if it changed our thing. Okay, so our tip time calculator's up. And if we go back to the main screen and we pull up our apps, where's tip time? Tip time's right there. Yep, so updated the icon. Quick look into it. There we go. Cool, that works. Sorry about that. All right. Adaptive and legacy launcher icons. Now that your adaptive icon works well, you may be wondering why can't you get rid of all those app icon bitmap images? You still need those files so that your app icon appears high quality on older versions of Android, which is referred to as backwards compatibility. On devices running 8.0 or higher, API version 26 or above, adaptive icons can be used, a combination of foreground vector drawable, background vector drawable, with an OEM mask is applied on top of it. These are the relevant files in your project. Okay. On devices running below 8.0 or minimum API level, but with a minimum API level of our app, legacy launcher icons will be used, the bitmap images in the bitmap folders. Okay. Essentially, Android will fall back on bitmap images on older devices without app adaptive icon support. Congratulations, you have completed all the steps for changing an icon. Solution code. Summary. Okay. Place app icon files in the bitmap resource directories. Provide different versions of the app icon bitmap images for each density bucket for backwards compatibility with older versions of Android. Curse qualifiers onto resource directories to specify resources that should be used on devices with certain configurations. Example version 26. Vector drawables are Android's implementation of vector graphics. They are defined in XML as a set of points, lines, and curves along with associated color information. Vector drawables can be scaled for any density without loss of quality. Adaptive icons were introduced to Android platform in API 26. They are made of a foreground and background layer that follow specific requirements so that your app icon looks high quality on a range of devices with different OEMs. Use the Image Asset Studio in Android Studio to create a legacy and adaptive icons for your apps. Learn more, design guidelines, etc. Alright, and that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next video.